I have here a small Django project which I called video store. This project static files are placed in static folder of the land app. At this moment I don't do anything special with static files. I just copied them here, then I included them in my base template and I use them to style my project with Bootstrap 4 components. And it looks like this. And I would say this approach to static files is atypical for small to mid-size Django projects. Let me be more specific. Let's say that in this project I want to add some extra styles. Let's say I want to style these buttons with sharp corners. It is almost standard approach nowadays to use things like Sass instead of CSS. The same way Sass extends CSS, there are similar approaches to extend JavaScript. It is very common nowadays to write JavaScript with classes, class inheritance, modules, almost the same way we do it in Python. Even more, if you don't like JavaScript syntax, you can try a different flavor. You can use CoffeeScript or TypeScript. My main point here is that static files are becoming increasingly complex. And because of their complexity, it makes perfect sense to move the whole asset management, or static files management if you like, to an external project, a Webpack project. The approach is following. I will create a completely new project. It will be a Webpack project. Webpack is a static files management tool. It can do a lot of very interesting things. Among others, it can convert, so to speak, Sass files into CSS files. So basically in the Webpack project we will apply a lot of magic on our static files, and the output of this project will be two files, one index.js and one index.css. These two files will be copied directly into static folder of our land app. And because video store project is already based on Bootstrap, I will move the whole Bootstrap thingy into Webpack project. In the end, the base template of Django project will need to include only two files. These two files. Which means basically that this part will be removed and instead we'll just place one index.css and one index.js. And because I already have this file open, let me change it. So I will remove the Bootstrap part. I will include index.css. Same for JavaScript file, and this folder, the Bootstrap folder, we don't need it here anymore, so I will just delete it. And if I look at my project in the browser, obviously it won't be styled. It is because these files, they don't exist yet. So for the rest of this screencast, we'll create a Webpack project which will output these two files directly into static folder of our land app. And this is our plan. First, we will install Node.js, Node Package Manager and Webpack itself. Then we'll take care of Webpack basic configuration. Next, we will include Bootstrap into the picture. Video store project is Bootstrap based after all. In the last step of this lesson, we will have a lot of fun with Sass and its configuration. If you want to dig even further, you will need to check the Pro version of this lesson. In Pro version, we will have a look at how to use so-called post-2015 JavaScript. This is JavaScript with ultra-modern syntax like classes, class inheritance, modules, template strings, arrow functions, and so on. As web developers, we are very used to JavaScript being associated with a web browser. Because, well, JavaScript was created inside web browser, and it was always there. But since 2009, this is no longer the case. Since 2009, you can run JavaScript outside browsers with Node.js. Node.js is a little bit more than a command line interpreter for JavaScript. With Node.js, JavaScript starts to be basically a standalone programming language. Webpack is written in JavaScript. If you want to run a Python script, you need Python interpreter. If you want to run a JavaScript application outside the browser, like Webpack, you will need a JavaScript interpreter, like Node.js. In a similar way Python community uses PIP for package management, Node community uses NPM, or Node Package Manager. The way you install Node.js and NPM depends on your operating system. I will skip this detail, and the end result is that in command line you must have available node and npm commands. So let's start with Hello World application in Webpack. First I'll create a folder and I will name it FX Video Store. Then I need to install Webpack and Webpack CLI packages. This command did two things. First, it downloaded all required packages in this folder, Node Modules. Node Modules is similar to Python virtual environment with its site packages directory. Similar to Python counterpart, you should not commit this directory in your repository. Instead, you should commit this file, packagelog.json. Packagelog.json basically describes the exact version of all packages in this folder. Now, by default, I mean without any additional configuration, Webpack reads all its sources from src folder and it looks for a file named index.js as an entry point. Let's create it. And inside index.js, I will add traditional hello world statement. To run Webpack, you need to use a utility called npx. If you have installed npm or Node Package Manager, and we did it because we just installed Webpack with npm, npx utility is automatically there. To run Webpack, you use this command. The result file of that command, which is main.js, was placed inside this directory. You also see here that npx warned us that we run Webpack without mode option, which means basically it ran automatically in production mode. It minified all the content of this file. Let's run it again, and this time in development mode. But in the theory part, I told you that output of Webpack project will be index.js placed inside video store project or Django project. To configure Webpack to output its result here and name this way, we need some additional configuration, and we'll add them using a configuration file. Let's do that. I'll first create a config file, config.js. And inside config.js file, I created a very minimal configuration for this Webpack project. There are two keys in this dictionary. First is the entry point, which is this file index.js, and the second one is where to place this file and how to name it. The name of the output file will be index.js, and as path where to place it, I declared here the absolute path to the land app of my video store Django project. And instead of giving development mode every time from the command line, I will add it here in configuration file. And now let's try to run Webpack again. The result of running this command is file named index.js, and notice that it was added here in land.js inside my Django project. So at this point, if I'll run my Django project, it will be unstyled because we still didn't add Bootstrap, but it will display a hello world message. Let's check that. Great. And now let's take care of Bootstrap part. Let's install Bootstrap and its dependencies. And second, let's remove this hello world message and include here Bootstrap instead. Bootstrap project has two parts. It has JavaScript part and Sass part. This import will import only JavaScript part. To include Sass part, we need to create a separate file. Let's create a new folder inside src. The new folder, I'll call it Sass, and inside it I'll place index CSS, and inside this file I will import Sass part of the bootstrapped component. Like this. Just notice that this import has @ syntax, and this is because inside here we use Sass syntax, not JavaScript. And to keep it consistent, let's move the index.js inside JS folder. And we also need to change entry point here. To configure Webpack to process Sass file, we need to add additional configurations. We need to add a new entry, module, and here I will declare some rules. And this rule basically checks against extensions of files, and whenever it finds a file ending with SCSS, it will apply these so-called loaders. Also notice that in this configuration there is no output for Sass file, and the reason for it is that without further configuration the Webpack doesn't take Sass file and place it in a separate file. Instead, all its output is written in one single file, index.js. This thing is a little bit weird, but this is how Webpack works by default, and we'll fix it in a couple of minutes. And also, we need to install these free loaders. And now, let me try Webpack with new configuration. It didn't really work, but I think I know the reason why it didn't. And the reason is that we created index.sass file, and I completely forgot to include it in index.js. So to make it work, I need to include the Sass file in main index.js. Let's do that. Now let me run Webpack again and check the results in browser. Yes, now everything is styled. To make Webpack output its result in two separate files in index.js and index.css, we need to do a couple of minor adjustments in our config file. Let's do that. So first of all, we'll use so-called mini CSS extract plugin. Let's install it first. Then I'll declare mini CSS extract plugin at the top of configuration file, like this. Next, instead of style loader, I will use mini CSS extract plugins loader, like this. And final step, next to module key, here plugins, with just one entry, this one. And file name here, this one, is relative to this one here. Let's check if it works. Great. And you can see now that CSS file was created, this one. If I'll check my web application now, it will be unstyled. It will be unstyled because I have here only index.js. So let's add the styles. So here in base layout of land app, I will add style sheets, like this. Let me check now application in the web browser. Great, now it works. And now in index Sass file of my Webpack project, I can add some really cool styles in Sass style. This style should make buttons with sharp corners, and this one will change card title in purple color. And this will happen only inside videos CSS class. Fantastic! I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks for watching.